I've played tons of PC games, and I know that out of every library that's out there, this is probably the one I'll never see to completion, at least not in my life. There's so much software out there that it's just physically impossible, but that doesn't mean I can't try. And as such, there are good games and there are bad games. Today, I want to talk about some bad ones, games that made me feel like a cat wearing socks, you know? Full of rage, betrayed by physics, and ultimately, not sure why. These aren't the worst games on the home computer, but they're definitely ones that are worth passing up. Let's begin. Mech Warrior is one of those franchises that absolutely killed it in the 90s. I remember playing Mech Warrior 2 31st Century Combat on my grandmother's computer, and while I never understood what was going on, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And yes, I would love to go back and play Mech Warrior 2, but to do so I need to go back and play all the earlier Mech Warrior games. In the whole grand scheme of Mech Warrior, this is the first game. But if you account for BattleTech as a franchise, this is the second game. Now, I was confused what to do when I played this because it's very much RNG, and to compound that, there are 3 different ways to play it. It's basically 3 different games in one all at the same time. I like to call them the approaches. The first approach is a social simulator where you do missions with the clans to accept contracts. The second is a trading simulator for battle mechs, and the third is the combat simulation. What sucks about this game is that it is beatable, but with a very obtuse storyline that can break at any given time. Sometimes it's RNG if the outcome you want happens, and the whole game relies on X person being at Y at Z time. So that means that every second counts, and this game just wasn't it for me. Hog Bear is it's a thing. Very old game, one of the first survival horror games long before it was polished by the companies that made it work, right? It's an enhanced version of another game, by the way, known as Castle Adventure. The way that it works, everything is in ASCII, and we walk around rooms looking for treasure and maybe running into the infamous Hog Bear. It looks like this. Kind of hard to miss. Now, I appreciate the designer trying their damnedest to create a horror game in the late 80s. Mad props. This was one era of computer gaming where DOS was very much hit or miss, but even with its age, it is rough to play. You walk into objects on accident, and then you can get stuck. Interacting with anything is a chore, and figuring out how to move around and do combat with the enemies is a complete unknown. It's all over the place. Pray tell, are you familiar with California games? Some of you might be. In fact, through my channel, we've had tons of comments about how the California Games series was one of those you had to be there games, and I respect that. And honestly, I feel that Epix did so much better on the PC aspect of the franchises than they did on the home console spectrum. That being said, Summer Games 2 is the 4th game in the Games series, that's the name of it, and there are 8 events. Triple jump, high jump, rowing, javelin throw, equestrian, kayaking, and cycling. Now you might think this is cool, and yeah, it might be, but in reality it's like trying to run a decathlon in a straitjacket. You do tons of events, yes, but you also beat the shit out of Z and /. Those are the 2 buttons that you're going to use. It's one of those games that are so unintuitive, I felt that the instruction manual needed an instruction manual. It's a constant fight with the keyboard, and to me it's a hard pass. 2014 was my year of buying shitty Steam games. Why? Because I wanted to do YouTube videos about them, especially on the free games. Now, Neotokyo is exactly that. It's a source-based multiplayer FPS, and it's futuristic. And if you want to go even further, it's technically a mod of Half-Life 2, which I actually just started playing, so if you want to see me play it live, feel free to come hang out. Neotokyo wasn't really a bad game in the sense that it sucks, it's what it's become now that pushes me away from it. The servers have been dead for a long time, and the only way to play it is to join a Discord and wait for a pickup game. And there's no way in hell I'm waiting to play a game. It was pretty generic to begin with, and I still think I would prefer Counter-Strike over this any day. There was a time where John Romero was untouchable. Even the common cold didn't dare go near the creator of Doom. Nothing did. Then ego happened, you know? When you're the best at something or surrounded by people who are the best at something and you succeed, success can create a negative impression. You become an uglier version of yourself. And I feel that's the setup that led to Die Katana. Now, I've known for years that people hate this game. John said, "I'm gonna make you my bitch." And surprisingly, he didn't. But I went into this game with a fresh set of eyes. I had never seen footage of it, I had never played it. It was 100% an organic start for me. So what did I like? Nothing. The story is stupid, the shooting is ungodly, almost all of the enemies are impossible to hit, and they kill you in a few hits. It's Doom if Doom was done wrong, and under no circumstances is it appropriate to die from a fucking dragonfly in the first stage. Again, I wanted to like this, I truly did, but I didn't. And I don't think there's many people out there that will fault me for pushing this one away. A while back, I mentioned Celeste, which is a rage game. It's one of those games where you die over and over and over again, like Super Meat Boy, I Want to Be the Guy Gaiden, or Jump King. Well, you don't die in Jump King, but you get the idea. You fail a lot. And I try to steer clear of games like that because they exist to break you down, and I'm not a big fan of that. But Celeste was different. Something about the aesthetic of the entire game kept me engaged. The music, the visuals, even the mechanics weren't bad at all, and in the end, I actually loved it. Then one of my moderators, DivineShadow_18, had to ruin it all with a mod of Celeste known as Secret of Celeste Mountain, which is quite literally Celeste if Celeste was donkey shit. The developer cranked up the volume and basically tried their damnedest to make Celeste Super Metroid. The levels are very reminiscent of it. It even uses the music from Super Metroid. To quote my review on the spreadsheet, this game is an obnoxious piece of microwave dog shit from a game that is one of my favorites in the last decade. This dev can kiss my entire ass. Syndicate is an isometric nightmare. When I tell you I hate isometric games, I do mean I hate isometric games, and this one in particular is where that all started from. My first experience with Syndicate was on the 3DO. It was actually the first game I bought for the console, and I thought it looked cool and edgy. And I learned quickly that over 50 different keyboard functions were melted down in a pot of bullshit to accommodate the 3DO's 6-button controller. And playing that game was a chore. Through and through, it was just a chore. But I revenged it, because I knew the game was originally made for the PC, and with it being on the PC, I was able to have full access to my keyboard. So why do I hate it? A, every single enemy is a bullet sponge, and they show up at any given time. And thanks to the way that the levels are designed, you'll never see them to attack them. There's no tutorial, so you never know what the fuck to do, but hey, at least there's a story, right? I'll tell you exactly what this game is about. You exist in a dystopian world where corporations run everything, so it's basically 2025, with 4 trenchcoat wearing, emotionless murder puppets jacked up on amphetamines going around selling bullets instead of vacuums. The city map is chock to the brim with pixelated nonsense. We shoot at anything that moves, and we commit arson with the precision of a caffeinated toddler clicking wildly with a mouse the size of a fucking lunchbox. This game's a piece of shit. I don't like it. You may like it, and that's all that matters. But guess what? I don't. I dreaded playing this because I hated the game that came before, The Seventh Guest. For anyone who doesn't know, The Seventh Guest is a puzzle game, and I say that lightly because the puzzles are just insane. The game promised mystery, puzzles, and horror. What it delivered was a casserole of bad acting, skull-fuckingly obtuse puzzles, and dialogue from an antagonist that will not shut the fuck up ever. Some of the puzzles were great, but most of them were stupid, and here we are, playing the sequel to it, The 11th Hour. And in every way comprehensible, it is worse than The Seventh Guest. The FMV scenes were nuked, the story is absurd, the puzzles, don't even get me started. I only cleared one puzzle, because A, the game runs like shit on modern computers, and B, they are all based on clues that have nothing to do with the puzzle. For example, the typewriter puzzle. You have 2 rows of numbers and you need them to both equal 81. Cool, easy, right? Nope! You need to have them match 81, but also be one specific combo of numbers that are matching on both sides. I spent 3 hours figuring this shit out. I even used a walkthrough, multiple. The people who wrote the walkthrough didn't even know how to play the game. I've talked about plenty of WWF games because they all suck, at least up until the 16-bit era. They were just exceptionally hit or miss, and you can thank the usual suspects, LJN and Ocean, for making sure that that happened. Now, I was excited to see this because it came out after the NES era of WWF games. Those were just button mashing bullshit, right? But this is the early 90s. Hell, an arcade game that kicked butt had just been released a year prior, so why do I dislike it? It sounds good, it looks good. The problem is, it controls horribly. The various controls are spread across two parts of the keyboard. I'm not saying up, left, down, and right are on one side and the punches are on the left. No. Up and down is Q and A, and left and right is O and P. Attack is spacebar. But if you're player 2, up and down was the normal shit with 0 as the attack button. It's really convoluted, and they didn't learn their lesson because they released another one in the same exact style, and I'm sure it'll end up on another list. Well, I don't get a chance to talk about dead games often, but this is one of them. Velvet Sundown was billed as an interactive social interaction game, right? It's basically real-life LARPing. I played this a while back, and the way it works is that you're randomly assigned a character on a yacht near the fictional island of Balboa. You'll have missions, and you can actually verbally speak to others. I mean, you can type it, and it gets transmitted out of your mouth courtesy of Microsoft Sam, which, for 2014, it was pretty cool. Now, what do you think happens when you have no limitations on what people can say in a chat situation? You get assholes, and not the standard assholes. I'm talking about racial slurs, pedophiles, people spamming bullshit for the quote-unquote lulz, and that was the death of the game. It was immersive for what it was, but if I wanted to hear someone say they were gonna fuck my mom, I would just go back in time and hop into a Modern Warfare 2 lobby or just go back to high school. And that's it for today's episode. What did you think of this list? Are there any PC games that you think are genuinely just unfun? Feel free to let the community know down in the comments section below. Speaking of our community, if you made it to the end of this episode, you're already home with us. We're a gathering of video game enthusiasts that love to remember when life was just a little bit easier. If you align with that, feel free to subscribe. Finally, the single most important thing you can do for me is to hit that thumbs up button, as it directly impacts the visibility of the videos and the projects that I work on every single day. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes. Fortefyre out.